Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. Upper in corner as the red Protoss, we have Tossim. Bottom left hand corner, we got white starting as the white Protoss. This is going to be on the, I guess it's old school at this stage, even though it's more of a modern map. Eclipse. Eclipse, kind of a bread and butter 1v1 map. I know a lot of people don't like it for a variety of reasons, but it's still the map that everybody's played. And I'm gonna have to say, if you had told me, so we're at the both these guys are 0-2 in round 3. If you had told me white was 0-2 at this stage, just kind of in the dark, I would have been a bit shocked. He is one of those guys that would have actually expected to advance fairly high and with a lot of wins through the initial stages. But he ended up facing Kiko and who else did he face? Kiko and Byexter, two very, very strong players in round 1 and 2. So not surprising to see him fall to those two guys. I'm favoring him heavily versus Tossim, seeing the quality of opponents and just knowing what's been kind of on paper as far as straight up play. We'll have to see though if Tossim has some surprises for white here. White's also pretty strong PvP, so we'll have to see it plays out. Tossim losing to Mayara's strong macro style in the previous rounds. I'm trying to remember who he lost to prior to that, and I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but it was Mayara last round. I'll try to remember, but it's still a best of 3, so we'll have it for you next game. Both players opting for a gateway opener. We'll see if it's going to be double gate out of either of these guys. Looks like it's just going to be gateway gas for white. No gas as of yet, so still the option for 2 gateways. Never mind, Tossim going to go ahead and drop down that gas a little bit later. Faster scout from Tossim. White, is he kind of going odd routing with this probe? Face planting a little bit later in the macro cycle as well, so definitely going to be a scout for both these guys based on the probe timing. Another kind of fact, I'm actually shocked that neither of these guys opted for 2 gate on this map, being that it is a 1v1, and that tends to be more often than not you do see that on Eclipse. Zealot being queued up by both players just in case. Probe doing a little bit of damage. I wouldn't be shocked actually if we see a Zealot cancel. Do we see Zealot cancel? No Zealot cancel either direction, interesting enough, but white able to wander up. A little bit of probe damage, a little bit of disruption, but the probe's taking a little bit of hit here on the opposite side. Additional second pylon getting dropped, and it looks like the probe just going to wander up and it's going to see that second pylon plopped in the back end. Zealot now on the chase both directions, so about even. White actually up a single worker somehow in the midst of this through just slightly better macro. Might have been some patch optimization. I don't think there was any sort of any micro on the line, although I wouldn't put it past white. Looks like he is going ahead and going for speed upgrade. White trying to keep, is that a second? No, okay, that's a Dragoon queued up. So white doesn't look like he's going to be able to get that probe out. Tossim with the timing looks like he is going to be able to sneak his probe out, so that should even things otherwise. Nice blockade. Good micro there by Tossim as well. So probe gonna micro his way across, is going to see that third pylon dropped, but this is going to put, I guess that's going to equalize Tossim a little bit, because macro wise, briefly white up 2 workers actually with all of the macro cycles they were pushed out. And I think that might just be based on where the which mineral fields are being tagged. Second gateway, and is this going to be a 3 gate? Looks like this probe's hanging out to drop that 3rd gateway. Probe trying to shove its way out to see something. White not drop. It looked like a second he was thinking about going for that additional gateway. In the meantime, white's going to go ahead and grab, or sorry, Tossim going to grab that robotics. And I think this is he going to drop the 3rd. He keeps moving this probe out. Okay, never mind. It's going to go 2 gate robo in the midst of this. This is going to give a build order advantage to Tossim overall. So Tossim going for, so as a result, effectively white is going to have the information lead. He's going to have that observer that's able to wander into Tossim's space, but Tossim should still have a reaver on the low ground. White, theoretically, depending on how things go, if all macro works out all the same, what white will end up with is a shuttle and a reaver a little bit faster out on the map, depending, and it also depends on whether he gets aggressive with the initial reaver or whether he drops that nexus. But one less gateway usually means a faster nexus and a reaver protect for Tossim. I like dropping the pylon out to the corner though to provide some scouting information, and it looks like he's going to go one gate robotics observatory. Is he just going to go observer nexus? No, okay, he's going to go, I'm waiting for that follow-up support bay. Usually that's the typical build, but despite having the resources, not dropping the follow-up, we have the observatory on one end here, and we should see briefly a supply advantage for white just because he's building out of the two gates. The probe making its way around, just gonna check the northern sector to make sure there wasn't a quick nexus snuck. A little bit odd scout. I don't remember ever seeing a Protoss go for a quick 3 nexus in the space of this, but is staying active. Also wanting to check the front to try to see what the spread is and whether he sees a probe coming out, so does see the probe making its way down to drop the nexus, and saw the I don't know if he saw the shimmer, but potentially was in location to see the shimmer of that gateway, or sorry, of the robotic, or of the observatory as well. So right now white gonna end up with a slightly later nexus at the end of this, and otherwise a faster just a little bit of what's crazy to me is if I'm not sure if there's just macro drops here for Tossim or what, or if white just ended up skipping. He might have just skipped dragoons in the midst of this, but he's actually getting this nexus down pretty close timing wise, despite being down a gateway, and the supply count's somewhat close of one probe up on Tossim, which surprises me a little bit. I'll have to look at the timings of all this in the midst of this. So a support bay was a little bit later from white, which might account for everything, but the observatory making its way in sees the Reaver and sees the lack of the second gateway. So white should know that he's basically going to have to play defensively, despite having a potentially later nexus, and try to play catch up from there. Sees the observatory as well. Tossim with the eyes, going to be able to snipe that observer. Is he? Yeah, able to snipe that observer. Second gateway getting dropped in the midst of that, so was able to see the second gateway dropped as well. But right now, Tossim with that earlier nexus and a little bit of macro up a little bit. White actually moving out on the map, which surprises me a bit. Reaver plopping down, no additional shuttle speed or anything along those lines, just getting that flat Reaver out. I think he just wants to try to get this observer snipe. Very, very clever. So moving this army forward, he's trying to spread out. This is crazy. This is very, so had that initial observer snipe, is going for the counter observer snipe. Wow, white, that was really heads up play. Really, really heads up. So making his way forward, staging all the dragoons out, able to get the observer strike. I have yet to see a Protoss do that, and that was well done. Risky, but well worth it. In the meantime, do we have 2 Reavers on the low ground? Tossim's actually going to end up with the faster shuttle in the midst of this. Is running a higher gateway count, and oddly, but white still with the overall supply lead if you kind of do the probe production by a slight worker lead, but white has a larger army. It's a bit further out of position. White is going to try to rush that third with everything he saw. I think he noticed that he's like, okay, I know that, well, maybe he's got the probe kind of in this direction. Looks like he's, I take it back. I thought he was going to move up and push for a faster third. Instead, he's going to go and he's going to micro forward with this worker to go ahead, and maybe he's going to put a pylon here to the north. I wonder if he's going to put a pylon there at the 12 o'clock location. Tossim, in the meantime, has that shuttle, is just sitting back and macroing. He's actually got a 3 worker lead on white here briefly, but otherwise we're just about even. The big difference here is the presence of a shuttle a little bit earlier here from Tossim. So Tossim, although he doesn't have the window of information to note it, has a slight window where he's got that shuttle up ahead of white, and white's army, well, it's got the high ground advantage at least here, but with the observer, which should be coming out, yeah, there shortly, should be able to bully this up. So yeah, pylon blockade right this second. White making his way forward without the observer is actually going to be able to, wow, is he going to get all that information? Is able to see the army making its way forward. Is he going to draw that army back? The observer pushing a little bit forward. I think if he getting this observer snipe will be significant actually, because that will deny the Reaver. He's got to step up and pick that off. Great job stepping up and pick that off. Is he going to just back up from here is the next question, because that allows him the forewarning to see that shuttle and draw, either engage into it or draw back. And so the observer catching a lot of that. And Tossim also not getting the free target hits he might have wanted to otherwise. Interesting, white now regathering that army, repositioning, and unfortunately walking into high ground attack right here. That shot, ooh, the Reaver getting a lot of damage. Reavers alongside still have not been unloaded by white, so a lot of Reaver, basically twice the Reaver shots out here for Tossim over white, and you can see it is counted in this army. Just absolutely getting obliterated. Not the best engagement point there for white. And a little bit later with the Reavers in the engagement, but it is a closer reinforcement location. So redropping Tossim, withdrawing the Reavers, is actually just going to take the Reavers to the natural expansion. With the rest of that fight, getting several probe kills, ends up losing the rest of his Dragoon army. So now it's going to be Reaver versus Reaver, but Tossim getting good damage. And now it's just, there's a single Dragoon remaining, 3-gate at close position, and just working on that Nexus. I don't think he's going to be able to take this Nexus out right this second. One probe still working on gas, but wins overall to Tossim, certainly getting a lot of damage done at that natural expansion. Nexus has been shredded, and with a lot of Dragoons back here and those Reavers able to trail their way out. Interesting, the Observer kind of pinned to the shuttle. Is that the Observer going to try to make its way back around to try to pick it off with these Dragoons? White in a spot of trouble right here. He's got to play catch up. He's also not, he's trying to play defensively. That Observer pinning to the shuttle, actually walking off, so Tossim missing an opportunity potentially. Is he going to try to draw it back? I think he recognizes it's going to try to draw back, and Tossim continuing with the aggression. He doesn't need to be aggressive here, but looking for another fight along the low corner. He's going to be able to pick off that Observer, which is going to put white in the dark. So yeah, Tossim, all he has to do is go ahead and take down that pylon here at the 1 o'clock position, grab that third, and macro his way from here. White's got to take some sort of risky maneuver. Looks like he's opting for Zealot leg speed. Never mind. I think that was Tossim who just got the Zealot leg speed upgrade in the midst of this. Tossim, by the way, sitting at 6 gates, grabbing the Templar Archives. He's just going to be ahead in tech. He's ahead across the board is really what it comes down to. White really needs to go for a Gateway Flood or something like that, or just drop the Nexus now and hope for the best. Something along those lines, because he's, after that last attack and losing all those probes, he's behind across the field. Instead, he's dropping some defensive cannons, which is setting him even further behind. Another defensive cannon in the back row here for Tossim, by the way, just in case. Honestly, it feels a bit like a flip situation where I would expect more defensive cannons out of Tossim rather than White. An additional base. Instead, White going to be delayed on this third Nexus. He's already behind in workers, keep in mind, and also behind in overall supply. But regardless, we'll see how this plays out. The big factor here is going to be the Psystorm. As soon as Psystorm is finished and you have High Templar out in the field with those Zealots, it's going to be a massive advantage. We do have 3. This is interesting here for White. So he's got the single shuttle. He's spreading out the Reavers on the low ground. He doesn't have eyes on what Tossim is up to. So instead, he was hoping that there's going to be continued aggression and trying to have a spread army to engage an over-aggressive counter as it was moving across the field. In the meantime, Tossim playing defensively, potentially expecting an attack near the third state as the probes were making their way across, has the Reavers there to provide a bit of distraction and or defense. And the shuttle making its way back out. This is still a slow shuttle, keep in mind. Is that probe going to see it? I don't think the probe saw it, but the probe is now going to march up. There's nothing here but cannons. So the probe potentially could spot that. Is the Reaver going to get some additional damage here from Tossim? At the very least, it's going to scout. So making its way up to scout. Tossim feeling like he's got the shuttle to spare, particularly once Psystorm is out there. Yeah, oh man, he's on the high ground too. This is going to be hard to evict. So nice play from Tossim. I think he recognizes there's going to be a vacuum of troops. White over-dedicating troops here now at the 9 o'clock location. Is going to lose a Dragoon or 2. Honestly, mitigated the losses, but they're just Tossim with great play here. Just going to shove this army at the natural expansion. Now pivoting, the High Templar trailing, wants to get rid of the Reavers in particular, and the Speed Zealots are going to be on top of the Dragoons, on top of everything else. He can afford to pick the fights. Good Psystorm. Now to follow it up, has missed the Reaver, but he's just got such an army advantage. This is going to be game from here. I'm surprised that White hasn't GG'd in the midst of this. Because, yeah, he's about to lose his third. He's lost there it's the GG. Lost everything else. Good play from Tossim. Really surprised me in this. I was kind of expecting the inversion of what we saw just there, but we'll see. We still got 2 more games potentially. This is best of 3. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.